She was the youngest person on the range, with no patches, no reputation, just a borrowed Barrett .50 cal and a clipboard of weather data. The veteran snipers barely noticed her. One laughed. The record was older than she was. But she took position, calmly adjusted, fired one shot, perfect hit, 3,540 meters. Nobody cheered. They just checked the record books, and when they saw the name written next to the new record, they froze. She handed back the rifle without a word and walked away. Welcome to Legendary Veterans. Tell us what city you're watching from today, and if this story resonates with you, hit that subscribe button. Ren Tanhauser walked across Fort Blackwood's shooting range, carrying only a worn clipboard filled with wind data charts. Her brown hair was tucked under a simple cap. Her uniform bore no insignia. Unlike the others with their customized equipment and unit patches, she looked like she didn't belong. At the morning briefing, Master Sergeant Kasoff outlined parameters for upcoming rescue operations. His scarred face showed decades of combat experience. This operation requires precision beyond standard parameters, Kasoff explained. We'll need covering fire from positions previously considered beyond effective range. Lieutenant Ambrose studied topographic maps with Olympic shooter precision. Beside him, Specialist Drake lounged with the confidence of someone whose name appeared in record books. Only our most experienced shooters will be considered for primary positions, Kasoff concluded, his eyes passing over Run without pause. When assignments were distributed, Run received observation duty. She would record atmospheric conditions while real shooters practiced. As she gathered her papers, Drake's voice carried across the room. "Whether girl thinks she's a shooter," he remarked to appreciative laughter. Ren's fingers tightened around her clipboard. She took one deep breath before her expression returned to neutral. No reaction, never a reaction. Throughout the morning, she moved between observation points, documenting wind speed and variables that could affect trajectory. She watched veterans struggle with difficult conditions. When Ambrose missed his third consecutive shot at 2,800 meters, Run made a notation. "Something to share?" he challenged. "The wind at your position reads differently than at the target," she said quietly. "There's a cross-current at the mid-range marker." Ambrose turned away without acknowledgement, but adjusted his next shot using exactly her correction. He hit the target, but said nothing. By midday, frustration filled the range. Even Drake, whose 3,400-meter record had earned him legendary status, couldn't maintain consistency. The conditions were deemed impossible for record attempts. Ren continued her silent work, invisible except when someone needed readings. But those watching closely would have seen her eyes studying each shooter's technique, mentally making adjustments they missed, calculating shots they couldn't complete. The afternoon wind picked up. Veterans huddled near equipment sheds, voices tense as they discussed the upcoming mission. 3,000 meters minimum in mountain terrain, Ambrose was saying. "The general wants certainty," Kasoff replied. "One shot, one kill from a position giving our extraction team maximum coverage." Drake shook his head. "Even in perfect conditions, that's pushing the envelope." None noticed Run within earshot, checking her instruments. Her mind calculated distances and variables automatically, the way her father had taught her. 3,000 meters was difficult, but entirely possible with the right approach. She watched Drake attempt his record distance of 3,400 meters 6 times. 6 misses. His frustration was visible even from her distant position. Kasoff called a break. From her post, Ren could see their animated discussion, the tension in their body language. The mission loomed closer, and they were no closer to confidence at required distances. She checked her watch. The day session would end soon. It was now or never. Packing her instruments, Ren made her way back to the main range where veterans were storing equipment. Kasoff was reviewing the day's data with evident disappointment. "Sir," she said, approaching him directly, "I'd like to take a practice shot." Conversation halted. All eyes turned toward her. "You ever fired a Barrett .50, kid?" Kasoff asked. "Not this model, sir," she answered truthfully. Drake laughed. "You heard her, Cass. Let the clipboard jockey have a go." Ambrose retrieved his rifle. "Knock yourself out. Just don't break anything." The shooters gathered to watch, expecting brief entertainment. Ren ignored them as she methodically prepared her position, arranging her shooting mat in a configuration they hadn't seen before. "That's not regulation," someone muttered. She checked wind using a unique hand technique, then settled into a stance that was unconventional but remarkably stable. Her breathing pattern slowed visibly, controlled in a way that even Ambrose noted with reluctant respect. Drake leaned against a post, smirking. That record's older than she is. As Ren prepared, fragmented memories flickered through her mind. A younger version watching someone demonstrate proper stance, a tattered photograph of a military unit, a newspaper headline. Record disputed after mission classified. She pushed memories away, focusing only on the present. The rifle's feel, calculations in her head, minute adjustments for variables most shooters would never consider. One measure breath. Gentle pressure on the trigger. The rifle's report echoed across the range. Silence fell as they waited for target confirmation. Seconds stretched before the radio crackled. Direct hit. Center mass. Distance 3,540 meters. Confirm. The veterans exchanged shocked looks. Kasoff grabbed binoculars while Ambrose pulled up the digital targeting system. The impossible had happened on a day when their best shooters couldn't maintain consistency at far shorter distances. Confirmed, Ambrose finally said, voice barely above a whisper. That's 140 meters beyond the current record. Drake pushed forward, demanding verification. Lucky shot. Has to be. Check the logbook, Kasoff ordered. As Ambrose input the data, the system requested the shooter's full name for the record. Ren's voice was steady. Tanhauser. The effect was immediate. Kasoff's head snapped up, recognition flashing across his weathered features. Any relation to Ezra, Tanhauser? Ren said nothing as she handed the rifle back to Ambrose. He was my father. The revelation hit the unit like a physical force. Ezra Ghost, Tanhauser had been a legend whose long-range shooting record stood unchallenged for decades until his sudden disappearance after a classified operation went wrong. His techniques were no longer taught, his name rarely mentioned. Ghost's daughter, Drake whispered, using the call sign once spoken with reverence. Ren didn't acknowledge him. She simply collected her clipboard and walked off the range, leaving stunned silence in her wake. If you're amazed by this incredible display of skill, make sure to subscribe to Legendary Veterans, because the most shocking part is still coming. That evening, Master Sergeant Kasoff summoned Ren to the command center. Specialist Tanhauser, he said, emphasizing her true name. Or should I say Specialist Lel, as your enlistment paperwork states. Either is accurate, sir. Lel is my mother's maiden name. I legally changed it after my father's death. And your purpose in joining this unit under an assumed identity? To restore the truth, sir. Kasoff turned a file toward her containing photographs, reports, and a death certificate. Ezra Tanhauser, decorated sniper, died in military custody while awaiting court-martial. The official report says suicide. Did you believe that? Never. My father would never take his own life. He was murdered because he knew too much about what really happened. You were 15 when he died? Yes, sir. And in 8 years since, I've dedicated myself to clearing his name. His techniques were classified, his methods removed from training. To break his record? To prove he was right. The mission that ruined him, Operation Longshot, required an impossible shot. 3,000 meters, mountain terrain, unpredictable wind patterns, similar to our current mission parameters. Kasoff walked to a wall safe and removed an older file bearing classified stamps. Operation Longshot. I was there. He opened the classified file, revealing photographs and reports never included in the official investigation. Aerial reconnaissance showing civilian compounds not in the mission brief, communication logs contradicting the official timeline, an order signed by a general explicitly denying Ezra Tanhauser's request to abort due to civilian presence. Your father was right, Kasoff said, voice heavy with buried truth. But sometimes being right gets you killed. For 8 years, Ren had known this truth, but could never prove it. Who else knows about this file? No one alive but me. I've kept it secure, waiting. Waiting for what? I didn't know until today, until I saw you make that shot. The shot that proves your father's methods work. The next morning, Ren found herself assigned to primary shooter position for the extraction mission. Same parameters as Operation Longshot, 3,200 meters, mountain terrain, variable conditions. As the team moved into position, Ren set up with Ambrose as her spotter. Through her scope, she watched the extraction team move into valley position. Then she saw what they couldn't, movement in the tree line. Not expected hostile forces, but civilians. A small group moving cautiously through the area. Ambrose, confirm what I'm seeing. He adjusted his spotting scope. Confirmed. Civilians present. Not on the brief. This was history repeating itself with uncanny precision. Command, this is Overwatch. We have civilians in the target zone. A tense silence followed. Overwatch. Intelligence shows no civilian presence. Proceed with the mission as briefed. Command, I have visual confirmation of at least 6 civilians. Request mission delay until they clear the area. Overwatch. Negative on delay. Neutralize the targets as briefed. That's an order. The moment of truth had arrived. Ren calculated the shot. It was within her capabilities. But the civilians would be caught in the aftermath, just as they had been 8 years ago. Her father's voice echoed in memory. The hardest shot isn't the one at the longest distance. It's the one where you have to decide whether to pull the trigger at all. Command, this is Overwatch. I am declining the shot due to civilian presence. Requesting alternative approach. The radio exploded with angry response, but Ren had already lowered her rifle. You understand what you're doing? Ambrose asked quietly. I'm doing exactly what my father did. The right thing. Minutes later, the radio crackled. Mission abort. Extraction team. Return to insertion point immediately. This wasn't how it had gone for her father. His mission had proceeded despite his objections, with tragic results. Back at Fort Blackwood, Kasoff waited. Your civilian sighting was correct. Satellite confirmation came through 5 minutes after your report. Just like 8 years ago. Exactly. Only this time we have corroborating evidence. This time the mission was aborted. This time no civilians died because of you. We're reopening the investigation into your father's case. Kasoff informed her. With today's events as corroborating evidence, we can prove he made the right call. The next morning, the unit assembled at the memorial wall where names of fallen marksmen were inscribed. Kasoff approached Ron with a small wooden box containing a shooting medal that had been officially rescinded. Your father always said shooting wasn't about hitting targets. It was about protecting what matters. As the unit watched, Ren walked to the memorial wall where Ezra Tanhauser's name was being re-engraved. She placed her hand on the fresh letters, feeling the weight of truth restored to history. Your shot wasn't just a record, Kasoff told her. It was justice. The morning sun caught the tears Ren finally allowed herself as she looked at a faded photograph of her father, the man who had taught her that sometimes the hardest targets aren't measured in distance. Sometimes the most important shot is the one you refuse to take. That's the story of Ren Tanhauser, who broke an impossible record not just with her rifle, but with her courage to stand for what's right. Her father's legacy was restored, his techniques reinstated, and his name returned to the honor it deserved. What do you think? Have you ever had to make the right choice, even when it seemed impossible? Share your thoughts below, and subscribe to Legendary Veterans for more incredible stories of heroes who never compromise their principles.